Hi guys, and welcome back to episode 4 of the 10,000 gold before Wrath of the Lich King challenge. And with this being episode 4, we're just going to dive straight into what we got on with since you last saw us in episode 3. And on screen right now, what you're seeing is me actually investing a little bit of gold into leveling our jewel crafting on our Shaman. Now this is for two reasons. Firstly, we did say in this challenge that the 10,000 gold is actually after completing everything that I wanted to have for being ready for Wrath of the Lich King on my main server, which included the leveling of the Shaman and also its professions. But also, secondary to that, I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to get this profession sufficiently leveled and to be able to actually make a little bit of gold with it along the way in order to reach the 10,000 gold for the challenge. So this early stage, investing a little bit right at the start to get us kick-started with our jewel crafting seemed like a pretty good idea. Next up, after we'd completed that, we went on to our rogue, back to our Surefire farm up at Legion Hold, getting ourselves some fell armaments and some disenchantable greens. And this is actually where we got rather lucky and got a green item that we were able to disenchant into a large prismatic shard, which proved to be a nice little benefit to us in regards to our gold challenge. And when we move on to our next section, it'll actually tie in nicely to another piece of luck that we had that was rather impressive, if I do say so myself. Speaking of, that next piece of luck that I mentioned is actually in regards to more prismatic shards from more greens. Now, I did actually miss a couple of these in the recording, but I swear to you, I did in fact get 3 large prismatic shards when disenchanting from 3 greens. Now, from what I can tell, it's roughly a 5% chance to get a large prismatic shard from DEing a level appropriate green. And please correct me if that's not the case, and please correct me if my maths is wrong, but I calculate that to be roughly a 1 in 8,000 chance of getting 3 of them back to back, which I felt was rather fortunate. So those next greens that we got were, as you can see, when we were completing some more of our Mana Tomb solo runs. Now, we were doing this for a few reasons. First off, the standard gold that we were always looking for from killing the mobs, the cloth we get, the greens to DE. But what we were really actually doing this for was to get the adamantite that we discovered in our previous episode we could smelt into hardened adamantite and make quite a hefty profit margin on. And this was both simultaneously very successful and very unsuccessful, because we were able to complete a few of these runs very smoothly, very efficiently, and get quite a bit of adamantite, which of course is very successful. What we weren't able to do was account for my idiocy in that I then immediately went and sold the adamantite without smelting it into anything. There is no accounting for stupidity, but if that is the biggest mistake I make while doing this challenge, I'll be a very happy man. So, moving swiftly up. And finally, the last thing that we did before I completed this little period for this episode was doing a little bit more of our leveling on our Shaman. Like we said, we do have these other goals that we're doing during this challenge, and leveling up this Shaman was the last of them. However, now that we've done his professions a little bit, he was actually able to make a little bit of money nowadays while he is leveling, because his mining is getting him some decent amounts of ores and gems, which on my realm at least are selling for a decent amount of gold. But now that we've said selling things for a decent amount of gold, why don't we pass over to having a look at our auction house character and see just how well we've done for the last couple of days. Okay, so you join me now on my bank character, and the very first thing that I would like to point, if we look up here in the top left corner, is that we have now just surpassed the halfway mark with our total gold, getting ourselves to 5,035 gold in raw gold, which is absolutely fantastic. Of course, we did start off with quite a chunk, so I'm not claiming that that's us halfway completed the challenge, not by a long shot, but it is a nice milestone to be seen up in the top corner here as we move forward, that we're now halfway to the total gold amount, if nothing else, and that is very nice to see. That is, of course, just in our gold value. We are, of course, also looking at our auction house value, where we are currently sitting at 752 gold. Now, that isn't going to mean that we've made a great deal of profit overall in our total value for our characters since the last time you saw. However, it does mean that we've managed to liquidate a lot of our gold from items through the auction house, which is always very useful. So now, if we take a quick look at how we've managed to do this, we'll have a look at what we've got for sale on the auction house still. So we've got some of our low-level items like we've always got from leveling our Shaman. We've got our ever-present flasks that are doing us very nicely on this challenge so far, as well as getting a few procs this time around. So we've actually got quite a bit of extra value coming from these. We still have our Spider Silk Boots, which have still got a great markup and an excellent value. However, we're still not able to sell even our first pair simply because people keep undercutting us. Moving on up, we can see a lot more of these low-level items, and especially our silk cloths here and our core stones that we've been able to pick up from leveling our Shaman. And moving on up, we've got just a few little things here and there. So we've got some Eternium ore that we got while we were mining in Mana Tombs, some scrolls, and yet some more flasks. Not an awful lot left on the auction house, for us. We really do need to work some more on restocking, particularly on things other than crafted items. But we do still have a little bit selling to do at the minute. But then if we take a look at our TSM and we just resize this window so you all can actually see what's going on. This is our graph here for our progress of gold. And as you can see from when we started, we've made quite a dramatic increase in terms of our overall amount of liquid gold. With Flask of Relentless Assault being comfortably our best earner so far. But then if we move over to our ledger and see what we've got in terms of sales in the last 3 days, which is roughly the time frame since you last saw us, and we'll see where our money has been coming from. So we sold a Swiftness Potion, some more flasks like always, including some really high value ones here at 66 gold. The big standout item that's noteworthy here is our design for Luminous Noble Topaz, which is finally sold at 149 gold, which I'm very happy with. That's obviously made quite a big chunk out of both our total value we had on the auction house, but also now our amount of gold that we've got in our bags. We've sold a few more flasks, a lot of low-level stuff. We'll skim over all these things that are worth less than a gold, but they are doing quite well for us. With the exception of these elixirs of minor agility, which I will need to review because we're actually selling these at a loss. That is a mistake on my part with regards to our TSM settings, which is a great reminder for you all to keep an eye on your TSM settings. Even if you think you have them well set up, it's always worth going and checking them every now and again. Otherwise, you make mistakes like this. Moving on up, we've got more flasks, some netherweave cloth. It's got a scroll of agility. That's such a lovely amount to be getting for scrolls when they're a byproduct of other farms you're doing. Obviously, any TBC farm is going to give you these scrolls potentially when you're killing mobs, so it's always a nice pickup along the way. Sold some more of our Marks of Sigeria. It's actually quite a few of them. They're not selling for great values in terms of individual amounts, but when you're selling them en masse and you're able to get them as easily as we have been doing, it does really make for quite a nice amount. We've sold our Primal Fire. We only ever managed to farm the one in the time that we were at our farm up in our last episode at the Throne of Kil'jaeden because of competition. So as much as it looks nice to get a 22 gold sale, probably won't be doing that too much anymore. We sold all of our large prismatic shards at 23 gold a pop, not too bad. The adamantite ore that we've sold in error up here now that we were looking to be smelting for ourselves into a heavy adamantite bar, so that was a record of our mistake. But moving on up, as you can see, we've got an awful lot more of our low-level items and our flasks making up the majority of our sales. But the big notable one for me up here is we finally sold our Fell Iron Bombs. Now, they sold for dramatically less than what they were up on the auction house for originally, but still for a very healthy profit margin. So I am a very happy man when it comes to those sales. That's made us quite a decent amount of money, and I think I will restock those in the future. But for now, guys, I'm sure Editing James will have already put it up for us, but just to review, we've got about 750 gold on the auction house and 5,000 gold, hitting that halfway mark on our total liquidated gold. But that's going to about wrap it up for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Later.